Hello and welcome to episode 33 of that 90s Premier League podcast. But Woody, a little detour today, mate.
Whoa. I was going to say, introduction to that 90s Premier League podcast. For those of you watching YouTube, what have you done, Jonesy?
Oh, right. Done a little detour. We're going to delve into that 90s Football League, mate.
Football. It's almost like a Bisto advert when you say 90s Football League. And it's,
Oh, Bisto.
We have a guest.
Yeah, we've got a guest, haven't we? You know what? It's took 33 episodes to get someone from Australia as a guest on this show.
You've done very well.
Yes, haven't I just? So we've got the General Manager of Media and Communications at Perth Glory, Gareth. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Welcome
Absolutely.
to the pod.
Thanks very much for having me on, gents. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this one, aren't we?
Yeah, I was going to say, when Jonesy told me you're obsessed with 90s Football League, I said, when can he be on and how long can he be on for? So, Gareth, thanks for joining, mate. Very pleased to have you.
It's a great irony that normally people are trying to stop me reminiscing about 90s football, and now I was given a platform, actually encouraged to do it. So I'm excited.
We're very fortunate, though, Jonesy, aren't we, to have a lot of people message us and say, when can I talk about this? When can we talk about that? Or have you thought about talking about this? So we've opened one hell of a can of worms with 90s football. And I'm sure, Gareth, when we talk to you a bit more about, obviously, your background and everything about Football League and stuff like that, that everyone will just be in the same boat. And that's what we love doing this podcast, is that it's just reminisce, nostalgia all the time. So we are very excited about this episode, aren't we, Jonesy?
We are. Absolutely. Quick before we get into it, Woody, what are you wearing today?
Cool. Thanks for asking. I've gone to the Valley today as I am wearing Charlton Athletics. I've got to get this right. I think it's 96 to 97, third or away, because it was a third shirt for a season and an away. So for those of you that are listening, for those of you listening on Spotify, I look like I've just been to Wimbledon tennis tournament because I'm wearing sort of purple and greens. But I think it's probably one of the nicest Charlton away shirts to have existed. It's the classic Quasar, if that's how you pronounce it. I don't sound too posh. Centralised badge, Vigilant sponsor, and it's the purple and green stripes.
Excellent.
Lee Bowyer, maybe. Richard Rufus, maybe a bit of Clive Mendonca.
People love Quasar. Remember I put that post on Instagram of that Quasar, a bit of an advert? People went nuts over it.
Yeah. It's a brand that's completely forgotten, isn't it? Yeah. It's, Yeah. But was it Lineker's boots?
Yeah, Matt Letizia wore them as well.
I had a pair of Quasar boots. They were rubbish.
Right. Moving swiftly on. Jonesy, what are you wearing?
I am wearing, I think it's 92 to 94 home shirt, Cardiff City.
Yeah.
South Wales Echo. Look at that. Represent.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Thing of beauty. Thing of beauty.
Do you have much memories of this one?
Oh, loads and loads. Phil Stant, Cohen Griffith, that kind of era. Just magic times they were.
Yeah,
because Pike, obviously, Gareth Bale was on.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow, gosh.
Yeah,
so this one's
a good player.
So this one was made by Bluebird, so the old in-house, I guess, because I think
we love it in-house.
We do love an in-house.
Yeah, I think a lot of clubs kind of went. Yeah, a lot of clubs went down that route in that period, as I remember.
But how kind of like the atmosphere though at Ninian Park in the kind of 90s and that sort of era of football, because I can always remember the ground and the pitch just being so close. It was like a cauldron, wasn't it? Incredibly close.
And yeah, when they were going well, the place was absolutely rocking. I mean, very, very intimidating as a and at one stage they had basically the away end was situated to such an extent, or the away section was situated sort of directly between two home sections that were very, shall we say, active home sections. So the fans kind of sandwiched between two sort of seething bays of lunatics.
Yeah.
And it was a not a nice visit as an away fan, but as a home fan, just yeah.
Oh,
It's funny though, isn't it? A lot of players though have said Ninian Park has been like one of their best experiences for an atmosphere, like an away game.
I think, yeah, I think it was. I think it was. Like you said, the fans were really, really close, right on top of the pitch. Yeah, some great days there. There was the League and Welsh Cup double. I think it was '93, as I remember.
I was going to say, I think they started wearing this in '93 at Division 3, and then it got promoted to Division 2, was that? Yeah, I think it was. Might have been
That's right. Yeah,
Worcester.
neck and neck with Barnet, as I remember that year, because Kenny Lowe was playing a fair bit that year. Reminisced a bit with him. So, Perth glory, and then you're knocking Manchester City out of the cup as well. It's around that sort of time as well with the Nathan Blake screamer.
Nathan Blake, what name?
Was City wearing that white Oasis kind of shirt? That was it.
Let me think.
Shirt?
I think they were. I think they were in white.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing a photo of it.
Yeah, maybe with a little bit of that sort of maroon trim. I can't remember. I'd have
to. Yeah.
It was some great times. And I think it's like all the old stadiums. You do miss them. We're going to talk about Brighton shortly, and the Goldstone was a similar sort of slightly big stadium towards the end, but it was just, I mean, it was a fantastic sort of second home as a young fan.
Do we draw the line at the Leisure Centre Stadium for Brighton when we talk about Brighton, or we're just going to stick to traditional?
You could be more forgiving for Withdean, because we'd spent the previous however many years it was having to play in Gillingham, which was obviously like settled. So as much as, Withdean was clearly just a sort of glorified athletics track with some temporary seating in it, at least it wasn't, an hour and a half away around the M25. So it was, we'll take it. Like it's dreadful, but it's not in Gillingham. So
no.
Cool. Yeah. So you started following in the, I'd say, late 80s?
In terms of going to games?
So,
Well, my first season was first game was 84. And then first full season was 84, 85, which was generally regarded as the most violent season in British history. So, and
welcome.
Welcome. So different times. So I was watching Brighton back then. My parents allowed me to go on my own. I think I was 11 at the time. I don't think they really knew what went on.
Were you in a firm, Gareth? Or?
To be honest, I know it sounds terrible, and I'm not condoning some of the stuff that went on, but as an 11-year-old, right, when you bear in mind that on a Saturday, most of your mates were being, probably dragged around a garden centre by their parents, right?
Yeah.
You were watching, after most games, dozens, if not hundreds of men having a fight in a park and having police horses chasing them. But I had better stories in school on Monday than most.
I was going to say, playground chat must have been immense.
Yeah, it was, and it was. I loved the clothes. I loved the whole sort of casual scene as it was at the time. Still going to a certain extent. I did. I loved it all. I was absolutely fascinated by the fans and everything that just went around football. I'm reading the program cover to cover, getting it around as soon as the gates open. Just loved the whole thing.
There's nothing better though than the kind of rolled up program in the back of your jean pocket, like during a game, though, is there? Like the experience. But does Brighton, do their fans pack a bit of a punch in the 80s? Did they have a bit of something to do about it with the firms and stuff? Or
they did. Not sort of top end, but certainly would hold their own. Certainly had various groups, not particularly a dominant one group. There were sort of various kind of mini firms that there were.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be honest, there weren't many clubs that didn't.
I was going to say.
I've seen documentaries. Yeah.
And the thing was, like I said, it wasn't, there wasn't necessarily trouble every week, but you could certainly go through the fixture list and identify, a good probably 15 games at least that there would be problems of some sort. So it was, but yeah, like I said, when you're 11 and you're not going to get caught up in it, and you can just stand there and
we pick a mix.
Yeah, it was. I have to say I did. It was all part of the day out back then.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously following Brighton. So during the night, how did the fans feel? The optimism and the struggle. How was the atmosphere?
Yeah, so I mean,
90s?
we had a strange year in '91 where we managed to get to the playoff final, really sort of unexpectedly, under Barry Lloyd. We had an unbelievable season. Managed to get into the playoffs literally with the last kick of the game. Dean Wilkins scored a free kick to get us into the playoffs. Beat Millwall in a 2-legged playoff.
Ooh.
That was people
say, yeah.
like people talk about the new Den being intimidating. Like the old Den was different level. Like it was to go there for a playoff second leg in midweek was it was an experience to say the least. So anyway, so we got to the playoff final, sadly lost to Notts County. Tommy Johnson scored a couple of goals.
Oh, Tommy Johnson. Who was knocking about for Millwall at that sort of time? Would that have been that wouldn't have been Sheringham, would it? Or would it?
No, it was probably post Sheringham. I'm trying to think who they had at the time.
Because they were quite a side back in the kind of early 90s, weren't they, Millwall?
They were. I think Jimmy Carter might have been there.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of era.
Yeah.
But yeah, a good side. So we got beaten at Wembley, and then I think promptly got relegated the next season. And things, you could see we were in a bit of a decline. The ground was, I think the Taylor report came in, but because we got relegated, they didn't have to do anything to the ground because we ended up in what is League One now.
Yeah.
And then basically you had an ownership group, if you like. Bill Archer sort of headed up the group. And it subsequently transpired, thankfully, somebody with a legal background, Paul Samra at the club, was aware that they changed. There was a kind of clause in the ownership of the ground that, or the club, that if the club basically went bust, nobody could make any profit out of it. Okay, so that any money that was then distributed had to go to courts in Sussex or something or other. So the Gents have come in and they've basically removed that clause, and then immediately set about trying to sell the Goldstone site with the view of simply letting the club go to the wall and take for the site. Now that site's in Hull, it's your park now, but I mean was obviously worth a fortune. I mean property prices even then on the south coast were just astronomical. So once that came to light, then basically all hell broke loose. It was revealed that the Goldstone had been sold and would be redeveloped, and the club hadn't put any plans in for a new ground. Like there was nowhere to go. So there was talk ground share of Portsmouth was mooted.
Oh God.
And then as it transpired, they hadn't, nothing had been put into place at all. So obviously the fan base have, quite rightly gone absolutely bananas at that point.
Was this all kind of like hearsay to the fans at that point, or like hearing rumours and it just suddenly happened, or was it known?
Yeah, I mean, the Evening Argus, the local paper, was investigating quite hard. I mean, obviously this is kind of basically pre-internet, so there's not as many news avenues. So yeah, there was a lot of kind of speculation and rumour and all the rest of it, and a lot of uncertainty at the time. But yeah, the Argus did a great job of really trying to dig deep and find out what was really going on at the club. So we sort of headed towards, I think, the back end of 95-96 season. There's sort of the direct action from the fans started to kick into gear. There was a pitch invasion, I remember, a televised game at Bournemouth, then being down there for that one. Just to try and shine a spotlight on what was going on at the club, because the FA were doing nothing as per normal.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. It's very familiar to you, Woody.
Exactly, like the old right and proper owners test that seemingly, unless you're actually in prison convicted of war crimes, you're in. So yeah, and then those protests continued. There was the big pitch invasion against York at home when the crossbars got broken,
Oh
and that game
gosh.
had to be abandoned. And then, yeah, as we were talking before I came on, the sort of direct action got more and more imaginative. There were all sorts of things going on. Whistle protests. There was the basically the sort of Fans United Day when fans from all over the country, a lot came down from Charlton, a lot came across from places in Germany and stuff to protest about what
Wow.
had gone. There were walkouts, there were walk-ins, there were
My
yeah, there
goodness.
was
Walk-ins.
there were we had marches in London, march to Bill Archer's.
Yeah, you could
Just,
see that march. I think was shared with you, Woody. The one the protest. I think it was on Football League Extra
Mhm.
in London.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at performance alongside of this, though, Gareth, I mean, like Jimmy Case was sacked after a defeat to Sudbury in the FA Cup in a replay that year.
yes, yeah.
Is that right, or was that the season after?
No, that is correct. I was at both games. I went to we played them away, and we were lucky to get
0-0.
Yeah, 0-0. It
Wow.
was absolutely dreadful. And then we brought them back to the Goldstone for a replay, and I think they won. It might have even been 3-0 or 3-1. They certainly won and won comfortably.
Yeah.
Results were appalling. And then I guess it culminated. We knew that the penultimate home game of the season, we looked dead and buried around about Christmas time, going into sort of February time. Absolutely dead and buried.
Yeah.
Bottom of League Two.
Points deduction as well.
Points deduction for the various pitch invasions.
Yeah.
It looked really, really bleak. Steve Gritt came in to replace Jimmy Case. And it was odd because as a fan base, we booed him because the longer we went on without a manager, the more of a sort of farce it became. So we didn't really want somebody to come in. So he got sort of presented. I've never seen this before. A new manager's presented, like they do. They come out and give it one of these.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder if he left the car running.
It was. I think he later said he was really wondering what he.
Well, he was a bit of a nobody though then, wasn't he? Because he was number 2 at Charlton, or an assistant manager at the time. So it was a bit of a gamble for him.
Yeah, it was because like you said, I think he had a fairly comfortable gig at Charlton, and how on earth?
Job.
Yeah, what a job!
Goodness.
What a job! But fair play to him in terms of results picked up, and going into the final couple of games of the season, we had to beat Doncaster at home in what was to be the final ever game at the Goldstone, and it was between us and Hereford. We managed to beat Doncaster 1-0 in pouring rain, and then obviously the ground, that's the end of the ground, so people are digging up turf and taking off.
I've seen clips. Yeah.
And then we had to go to Hereford, who had by this time would right down there with us, and we needed a draw for us would send them down and keep us up. And we were away at Edgar Street, went 1-0 down to an own goal, and then equalised, as I remember, in the second half, and then hung on desperately for a good half hour.
Well, I looked at the league table for that, and you both finished on 47 points. So you stayed up with positive goal difference. But if you look at Brighton and Hereford's heritage within the Football League anyway, I mean, we're talking 25 years plus for Hereford. So for two giants of the Football League at that point to get in that state of relegation only goes to show you how bad the club was in terms of its affairs at the time, because Brighton should have been nowhere near.
No, yeah, you're right. Absolutely, yeah.
And then what's very interesting is then where you see that Hereford obviously went down, and then basically, like we were talking about clubs that have effectively folded, and had to. I think they're just Hereford FC now. I think they are.
Yeah.
ended up playing, way, way, way down the pyramid, and fortunately have managed to start to work their way up. And I think they still get pretty decent crowds now, like 3,000 or whatever it is, maybe a bit more. So, whereas obviously Brighton have gone completely in the other direction. I mean, it's astonishing what's happened there since. It's unrecognisable, to be honest, club that it was then. But the good thing is a lot of the people that were involved in keeping the club alive back then are still or have been involved in the club and got to enjoy the success that the club has.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, rightly so. Rightly so.
Yeah.
All right, what a turnaround, eh?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were mad times. They were, and I think as well. I'd been going to the Goldstone, as I said. I think I was 11 when I first went, and then it got knocked down in '97. And it really affected me. I mean, I think, they talk about formative years. I mean, between 11 and what was I when it got knocked down? About 23, 24. There's somewhere where you've been for 12 extremely formative years every other week.
Yeah.
Football season. It was
second home.
Oh, yeah. It was I
Yeah.
mean, you'd been the same, obviously, with like Hillsborough. Like
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was devastating, absolutely devastating that it
Were
went. And
you-
I've never quite been the same since that.
No, I completely understand. I mean, so through your kind of, you say about 11 till about 23, 24, were you a kit man, Gareth, in terms of Brighton's kits back in those days?
I actually wasn't. Going back to that sort of 1984 year of the casual kind of thing, I've always kind of went down that route. So
Did you appreciate the cloth though? Did you buy the shirt at all or not?
I didn't buy it, but always been, I've got kit books. I've got absolutely love kits. Absolutely love kits.
You had some absolute belters though, didn't you? I mean, like the TSB kind of era. I mean, there was a kit that looked like it was made of meat, wasn't it? At one point, like an away kit.
Just gonna have a look now.
Yeah, we had some. I mean, obviously, it was a period where some of the kits were at the extreme end of the sort of couture spectrum. If you will.
Yeah.
The Nobo, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Nobo.
That's it.
As sponsors go, probably wasn't the best. I mean, I think the one that was one of the most memorable was blue and white stripes that were carried on into the short, so it quite looked like a deck chair.
Bananas in pajamas, yeah, real, yeah.
That was yes, quite a confronting kit.
Would you agree though that, because me and Jonesy have said this before, if you reflect back on 90s Football League, if you compare the kits to what they are in today's kind of era, they were so much more expressive and like out there in terms of their own individual identity. I mean, you had Hull with like tiger stripes and claw marks.
Yes.
And you had like Brighton's like shorts carried on through the shirt and everything. They were so much more out there as kits, but they were just deemed normal back then, weren't they? They weren't kind of like, oh, what the hell is that?
No, that's right. It was almost like the wilder, the better. And, some of them were, I mean, I'm vaguely remembering some sort of Port Vale away kit that was like, it was almost like an experiment in psychedelic.
Yeah.
There were vectors and stripes. And I mean, there was,
I love it.
Had like as if tires had been on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the goalkeeping kits were even more out there.
Beautiful. Yeah.
That's why I've got a collection behind me. That's why we love 90s kits.
Yeah.
Oh, they were absolutely phenomenal. They really were. And like you said, it was across the board. I mean, virtually every team, at least even if the home kit wasn't too out there, they'd make up for it with an away kit that was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, and I love it now that the teams go back. It's like the throwbacks. It just shows how how good that era was.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was. Yeah, it was. It definitely was.
Do you want to touch on I've mentioned on the pod a few times of young Jonesy going up to the phone box of his coins.
I'm not turning into Superman before anyone suggests.
No. So apparently you used to work for ClubCall, Gareth.
I did indeed.
Yes.
for quite some time. Now, in my defense, I came into ClubCall really kind of on the cusp of when it was transitioning from the premium rate phone lines to the internet. So, and basically it's sort of, I know it kind of still continues in some capacity now, but I sort of came in towards the end of its heyday when the writing was already on the wall that people weren't going to continue to pay, for the sort of, quite inaccurate information that they could
Yeah.
find for free at their
What you mean?
fingertips.
It wasn't true.
Don't break his heart, Gareth, please. Goodness me.
I mean, it was interesting. You were sort of, depending on your seniority, sometimes you'd be allocated your sort of group of clubs. And we were official with some clubs. And that was a lot easier because then you had actual proper access to, to the players, to the manager, to former greats, whatever. So you could actually get some quite meaningful content.
What sort of clubs, Gareth, were you kind of like official with then? Because I think if I read correctly, was it the kind of the big six in the kind of the leagues at that time, or?
Yeah, we had, I think we were official when I was there. I think we were still official with Arsenal. I think we were still official with West Ham.
Okay.
Spurs, I think, had gone at that point. Manchester United. We had Pete Smith up at Manchester United. He was still doing stuff there. Brighton was one. Obviously, weren't doing too well at the time, but yeah, we still had a good feel. I mean, gradually they sort of went off and did their own thing, but yeah, we still a reasonable sort of portfolio of official clubs when I first started there.
So can we break this down for some of the listeners that might not be familiar with how it worked? So in comparison, are we talking it's very similar to kind of transfer rumors, club information? How did kind of ClubCall work?
Yeah, so that was it. I would record a sort of, depending on how much news there was on any particular day, I'd record, I don't know, say I like a 3, 4, or up to sort of 8 or 9 minute kind of audio bulletin. And basically you'd throw in some teasers at the start, which would be, welcome to City ClubCall. Coming up in just a moment or two, we've got the club's been linked with a I don't know, whenever it is a top Danish midfielder. More on that to come.
So it was your voice.
Yeah, it was my voice. It was my voice.
Oh,
yeah.
the voice of ClubCall.
Yeah, and then you sort of get the other typical kind of stuff. You obviously needed people to stay on the line, so you'd get some work through some fairly trivial stuff at the start. Tickets for Saturday's away game at Barnsley are now on general sale.
Yeah,
whatever it might be, and then you might go, moving on to injury news, and you might do a bit, and then you'd sort of save the transfer, such as it was. So
why do I find that so good? So, did you have any stats in front of you to say like how many callers were on or listening, or
not at the time? You could sort of retrospectively, come the end of the week, you'd have an idea of which of your bulletins had done all right and which hadn't. And then we had the connection with teletext where you could put your headline. Each club obviously had its ClubCall teletext page. So you'd have whatever it was, Arsenal and Gunners linked with whatever, Swedish defender, and then the number. And then
that's what used to trap me. Teletext.
And the thing was, on a Saturday, like, you would always try to get out once the games had finished. You're obviously desperate to get home, and you'd start off. You'd put your result. You try and think of something clever. So whatever it was, gun down at home or whatever it might be for Arsenal, just some sort of pun.
Love that. Yeah, yeah.
But then by the time you got down to League Two, you were just, oh Jesus, I just want to get out of it now. So you would just go for literally just say what happened. Mansfield lose. That was it.
I was obsessed with those headlines.
I was going to say,
so much my pocket money.
Yeah,
money well spent.
I was going to say you loved it, didn't you, mate? I mean, what was your memories of ClubCall?
Oh, just wait for those headlines. Yeah, and just run into the phone box.
Hmm.
Like,
But
I've got to go.
we it's apologising now.
Mom, can I have another? Can I have another 50p?
Oh. Yeah, so don't worry, Gareth. Jonesy didn't put on like the full Liverpool kit, hat, scarf, sprint down to the phone box. You know, sit there for 8-9 minutes.
It was a long walk up that hill, I tell you.
So stop making him feel bad, Jonesy. Crikey. So in terms of the information and stuff, so I presume then for you to have like rumour mills and stuff, yes, you could create your own within reason. But did you have like, I say spies, but I mean that generally within clubs that kind of slip you a few rumours or?
Yeah, there was a bit of that went on, and also like local journalists were usually, you'd sort of, I was going to say groom them, which sounded
No, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean.
wasn't that sort of thing, but you sort of cultivate a relationship with them, and
Yeah.
they would help. And then quite often as well, the longer that you were covering a club for, and the more you got to know the sort of manager and who his connections in the game were, and the sort of players that he liked, and the sort of markets that the club tended to shop in, you could quite often, completely make up a link and claim that, Cardiff were interested in whoever it might be. And
Yeah.
I would say probably about 30% of the time, it would then turn out that they actually were. You could almost preempt, the players. You didn't do anything ridiculous, you didn't sort of link, some like superstar of the day with a move to Darlington or anything, but it was, you could sort of take some quite educated guesses at things. And then obviously if you did get one right, you'd make a big, song and dance about where you heard it first, an exclusive. Here
Can you recall can you recall some of the big stories that you were like too kind of excited to announce? Can you remember any of those?
Oh God, it's a long time ago. You're
Maradona to West Ham.
We don't, just trying to think. I mean, I was covering Cardiff when Sam Haman was there.
Right.
Oh goodness!
Obviously, there were a lot of kind of he would basically link the club with all sorts of players. So there was a lot of about basically any decent Welsh international at that time going to Cardiff.
Yeah.
So those sort of stories. He was good in terms of generating headlines, because Cardiff were just chasing everyone at that time. So that was always good fun. But then the flip side of that was you had sort of, one of my teams was Kidderminster. And with all due respect to Kidderminster, like they weren't in the market for anyone ever.
Yeah.
And, you're supposed to do something for them every day. And it was just
Kidderminster have a game Saturday.
I mean, thank God they play as many games as they do in England. It's usually obviously Tuesday, Saturday, because if they didn't have a midweek game, you'd sort of review the Saturday game on the Monday and you could look forward to the next week's game on the Friday. But in between.
So how were you given these clubs then, Gareth? Like, did you have to like fight your way up to get Manchester United, or were you given a set of teams per week, or?
Yeah, there was a bit of that. Like you sort of had to cut your teeth, sort of on the lower clubs as such. But that suited. That was my level of interest anyway, so that didn't bother me too much. They gave me the Welsh clubs. I don't think anyone really wanted the Welsh clubs, so
yeah,
which was good. And then it ended up with a couple of Premier League clubs, but yeah, mainly mine were still Football League clubs at that time. Quiver, as it were.
All right. Just going on to it. So obviously your interest has always been Football League. How was it going back to, like, if you go back to 92, the Premier League rise? Do you have any interest when that was forming, or you were just... focused?
Yeah. I mean, it was obviously, you knew after World Cup 90 was, such a kind of game changer in the way that, because sort of people forget in the 80s, there was nothing trendy about going to football. Like it was kind of a quite grim, it didn't have any sort of, celebrities weren't going to football in the 80s. Like it was, it didn't have the flamboyance that it developed, I suppose, post Italia 90, and then obviously with the advent of the Premier League, when you've got a flood of Europe's best talent sort of starting to pour in, and
Mm.
this amazing cosmopolitan kind of Premier League that's taken off. I mean, I didn't have Sky at the time, so I didn't see a lot of games. That you'd actually have to go to the pub or where it might be to watch games. But yeah,
You
you
weren't
were
stood next to Jonesy at Comet, where you're looking through the window on the telly. Yeah.
did you, did you do a bit of that? Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
The results coming
Dix-
through on the old video used to come up.
Yeah.
I mean, my favourite thing with the video printer was always when, if somebody had scored any more than 5 goals against someone else, it then used to write it in letters. So it would be like
Yes.
Darlington 6, whoever, Barnsley 0. And it would be number 6, and then in brackets, SIX.
Yeah, just in case.
Yes. But
Oh,
no, I was certainly aware of it. Always keeping an eye on whichever Welsh players were doing well
yeah.
in the Premier League.
Because
at the time.
it was a massive change. Obviously, when Sky, Monday Night Football, you got all the dances, the fireworks, everything like that. So it was a massive change, wasn't it? For that,
Oh, it was huge.
yeah,
Yeah, it absolutely was, and you knew that it was changing in a big way. You were very conscious of it, that football as it had been was changing. It wasn't
yeah,
just just something temporary that was going to go on for a couple of years. You could sort of see where this was going. I think quite early in the piece. I mean, you probably couldn't have imagined that it would be like it is now, but you certainly knew that something was happening, and things were not going to be as they had been for the previous kind of decade or so.
Were there any Brighton players that kind of took the leap to the Premier League that you can recall in the early 90s? Because the transfer market was big for British players back then, wasn't it, really? But
I mean, I'm just trying to think. I think on a Leeds, Mark Beanie the goalkeeper went to Leeds, but he didn't
yeah,
oh,
really
yeah,
play too much. Who else did we have? John Byrne was up at Sunderland. I think he went up to
Yeah.
Sunderland.
Mhm.
There
oh, yeah,
Yes, a blonde striker, good player, very good
yeah.
player. But I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. No one that really jumps out, I don't think.
But they did kind of like, I think a lot of Premier League clubs, 92, 93, they did dip into the Football League at that point, though, didn't they? And they started bringing through a few of those players that were quite young playing in Football League divisions.
That's right. Yeah, especially your sort of Boltons and your shit. Those.
Yeah. I just didn't know if it affected the league as much, because the merry-go-round kind of started then, didn't it, really? The kind of taking all of the Football League's best players to this new Super League,
Yeah, it did. And they sort of stockpiled squads. I mean, I remember we talked about Nathan Blake a moment or two ago. I remember him going to Sheffield United and Bolton and sort of playing.
Of course, yeah.
Flight. So, they definitely did come looking. I remember Robert Lee being at Charlton and
yeah.
to the league. So you could, you'd often see your team play against another side, and there'd be a player that was just head and shoulders.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, like I watched Reading a lot in the early 90s at Elm Park. I've said this to Jonesy in the pod a few times, but the year Reading got to the playoffs against Bolton, didn't go up. Shaka Hislop then goes to Newcastle in that transfer window. The following season, Reading are fighting relegation. So it just goes to show that those pinnacle players, once they're cherry picked from these lower league clubs, go into the Premier League. They've had great careers, but they've left a trail behind them because the teams struggle, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They do. They definitely do. Almost regardless of when they go, whether it's in the middle of the season or at the end of the season, it can really completely disrupt a team and a club. And like you said, send them from being playoff contenders to relegation candidates.
That's
I mean, it was probably a little bit pre-Premier League, but I remember seeing Brighton play against Oldham in the 80s and Andy Gorham being in goal for Oldham.
Oh,
wow.
Love Andy Gorham.
Unbelievable. I mean, quite small, but just, I mean, he put on a display, probably the best goalkeeping display I think I've ever seen in one of the games. And you just looked at him and you're like, he's not going to be at Oldham for long. He's just not. They obviously ended
there
up
any
at Rain.
But are there any players like Andy Gorham that you watched against Brighton, for example, that you thought, wow, and then they end up somewhere big? Can you recall anyone like that?
Yeah, Robert Lee
Rob
was
Lee.
definitely.
Yeah.
Rob Lee was, it was absolutely outstanding. Who else? I mean, I used to I was quite fond of goalkeepers. I used to quite keep a close eye on goalkeepers. So yeah, Shaka Hislop was another one that you mentioned
Yeah.
there. I remember seeing him against us a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, there were quite a lot. And then, we got some random, I think once you sort of got towards the Premier League starting, even clubs in the Football League were a bit more aware of overseas markets, because at Brighton we got a Russian international, Sergei Gotsmanov, came in.
What a name! This sounds like Roy of the Rovers territory. This.
It was. And he was just miles too good for us, right? So he's coming, and I remember one game in particular, he got put through by someone. He's gone round the goalkeeper, obviously empty net in front of him, and he's waved to the fans. He hasn't. He's just saluted, was stopped, and everyone's like, "What's he doing?" Like,
Put it in.
just yeah. We had a few. We had another. Stefan Jovan. He'd won like 60 caps for Romania at centre back. And he comes to Brighton, and it was, it was bizarre. It was brilliant, because I don't know how they got them and where they got them from, but it sort of did. So going back to what you said about, a real landscape changer, it did. I mean, it didn't change the EFL landscape, obviously, to the same extent, but it certainly had a kind of drip down effect.
I can always remember Reading signed Trevor Morley in the mid-90s, and I was told he had a metal plate in his head from an injury. So me as a kid, when I was watching him at Reading, I was constantly watching him going, where's the plate? Where's his metal? I was thinking like he had some sort of like Two-Face kind of like metal plate on his head.
Where's his bullet header?
Yeah, I was obsessed. But every time he headed the ball, I was like, oh, or anyone going up to headers. And it became one of those things that where you see a big player come and play at your little ground. Because I said to Jonesy, I completely forgot that I watched Manchester United against Reading in 95, 96, and Cantona was playing. The pitch was dreadful. Like, it looked like a beach. And it was January, but you kind of look at those players and you see the physical difference, the kind of the fitness, mentality, the strength of their squad. So it must have been a real eye-opener for teams like Brighton, particularly in the early 90s, going through all of that struggle, thinking, well, how do we get ourselves out of this if we go out of the Football League?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And we were similar. We had some good, some good cup games. Went up to Liverpool and got a draw at Anfield, and then lost the replay back down at the Goldstone. And I mean, you remember some of those players. I mean, I remember playing Portsmouth when Paul Walsh was there, and he was past his best by then. Like he was sort of coming towards the end, but I mean, he was just miles too good. It was just madness. He was so good, and that was in that really, really good Portsmouth team that ended going up. Hayden Fox was in it. They had some really, really good players. It was just too.
Name.
Steve Stone was in it.
Oh yes.
And you just looked at a lot of the players that they had there. Darren Anderton was there, and you just thought, oh, hang on, there's probably 6 or 7 here that are clearly in the wrong division. Actually, going back to the season where Brighton were almost relegated out of the league, we played Leyton Orient at home, and Ray Wilkins was winding down his career. With
who didn't Ray Wilkins play for?
Yeah.
My God.
So it's, things are, every home game is really heated, as you can imagine. The atmosphere is a boiling point throughout. And it was a game we had to win. It ended up as a 4-4 draw, but they've scored a penalty in front of the North Stand, which was Brighton's home end at the time. And Scott McGleish, who scored the penalty, has decided to give it the old double finger, done the length of the stand, giving it.
As you do.
couple of lads have taken exception to this, hop the fence,
Oh
and
no.
get at McLeish. And Ray Wilkins has intervened. Now, bearing in mind, he's won 86 England caps, right? He's played in Serie A, he's played
Yeah.
in Cup. You know, there he is at the Goldstone,
Yeah.
absolute decrepit football ground. And then 4 or 5 lads are running towards it. He steps in front of Scott McLeish to try and protect it. And he does the other thing. He raises his foot up to sort of ward them off with his foot. And one of the lads does the old schoolyard trick of grabbing his foot.
Oh, no.
And it was just like, it was one
Oh,
of the bizarre things I've ever seen. So there's Ray, this
Karate Kid.
being dragged around the goals and on his arse by a
Oh, what a national treasure as well. I bet he's like, what the hell am I doing here?
Exactly. And then his post-match interview, he said something like he did in that accent. He goes, well, next thing I know, I've seen the lad up the fence. He looks like he's going to give me the old banjo. What does that even mean?
Yeah. So I stick my foot up in defence.
Yeah, so that was what you did, Ray. That you put your foot up in defence.
Oh, that's brilliant. Brilliant. All right. Do you want to touch on a bit of 90s Wales?
Do you?
Yes, you do. Come on.
Sorry, boys.
Yes.
Definitely do this. Come on.
Well,
right,
we know,
Tale of
we know,
Woe.
Yeah.
we know why. I think I've talked about it on the pod before the Bobby Gold years. That's when.
Well, I was going to come onto the Bobby Gould years, and it was 90. What was it, like 95 to 99? I think it was roughly for Bobby Gould. So even though I was living in Brighton, I was driving up and down or getting up to Wales games as often as I could. And I think the Gould era was the closest I ever came to just walking away from this, because it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that we were missing tournaments, because we'd always missed tournaments. That was obviously, we had 93 Port Bowden. It's the crossover.
Yeah.
We don't go to the States, which was a shame, because I was a student at the time and I was all set to go to.
You had your bags packed.
Yeah, look, time off, not a problem, because you've got months of holiday anyway. Like, it was, that was devastating. So then he comes in, and it was just madness. I mean, I think it was probably best encapsulated by the fact that, we lost a friendly to Leighton Orient at Brisbane Road.
Yeah, you said that, Jonesy.
Yeah.
People don't believe you, but we did. We lost. Not only did, first of all, why are we playing Leighton Orient?
Yeah.
And the thing is, we full team out. Like, Mark Hughes played, Wiggs played, Barry Horn played, Chris Coleman was there.
Dear.
And then I think fresh, either just before that game or just after that game, Wales played Cwmbran Town, like non-league Welsh team, in a friendly. I think 1-5 or 6-1. Bobby Gould played himself and scored a header.
I watched them against Rill. They won 3-0, and Bobby Gould brought himself on.
It's like...
and going to the game, I always remember how I've mentioned it on the pod. The headline in the back of the Daily Post: Bobby Gould, how playing Rill will take us to World Cup glory.
Oh, and my word!
It was Dean Saunders, Mark Hughes, Barry Horn, Chris Coleman. It was full, and Bobby Gould brought himself on as well.
Well, I'm glad, in a way, Andrew. I'm glad that, because I think there might be people watching or listening who think that I'm just making this stuff up, because it is almost beyond belief. I mean, obviously the fight with John Hartson at training.
Who would pick on John Hartson?
I know, challenged into a wrestle, which then ended up in a proper, just
wow.
It was just madness, absolute madness. Yeah. And thankfully he got, he got the sack. But yeah, there was a period there where it was hard to just maintain any interest, because it was a complete and utter circus.
Well,
I mean,
was he the reason then that you didn't? Do you reckon? I mean, it can be him. I mean, it sounded like it was the Bobby Gould show.
Yeah, it was really. I mean, it certainly didn't help. I could see the thinking behind it. Obviously, he'd had a lot of success at Wimbledon, and I think the
Yeah.
idea was, look, we've got even though there were some good players in it, overall we've got limited resources in terms of players, and we need somebody who could come in and really get the most out of a fairly limited group by just kind of bringing them together and making them hard to beat and physical and
Yeah.
nasty, and a team that other teams don't want to play. So I could sort of understand that aspect of it, but it just deteriorated into complete and utter madness. I mean, he fell out with just about every senior player at some point, would drop them, and then on the day of the game, or sort of banish them from the camp and then bring them in on the day of the game and pick them to start. It was just, yeah, it was just madness. And I think
Well,
that was probably when we felt the furthest away from qualifying. We didn't look like qualifying for anything.
No, no.
this
I
is a question
remember
to
that.
both of you then. So,
Yeah.
sorry, Jones, you go first, mate. I'll ask the
No,
question.
I just remember just watching that 7-1 defeat against the Netherlands, and I was just like,
Yeah.
Neville Southall was the man of the match. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
For his energy at picking the ball out of the back of the net. Oh,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
God. All right. So my question to both of you is, right, 90s Wales, just reel off some players you had, because I've got a few in mind, but you had a squad there that could have done something, right?
We did. Andrew, do you want to go?
yeah. Oof. Ian Rush, Mark Hughes, Gary Speed, Dean Saunders.
Yeah, big Nev was there. Barry Horn was a decent player. Mark Pembridge was coming through. They were good. I mean, I think as usual with Wales, it was once you scraped past that, starting 11s, suddenly the drop off in terms of the rest of the squad was pretty marked. You were starting to come down to players that were probably championship at best, and in some cases, down to kind of League One. So, but
What
yeah,
about
they sort of,
the Vinnie Jones era?
yeah, again, that was where you just like, this isn't right. What's happening here? You're almost making a mockery of Welsh football. I thought.
What, the fact that he played for Wales?
Yeah, yeah, just ridiculous, just nonsense. I mean, from a football point of view, as well as a kind of national feeling point of view, I think, because it should never have been anywhere near playing international football, really. But yeah, they were grim times. And then I remember when Mark Hughes came in, and we did much better, and we beat Italy in Cardiff, and then we had the playoff against Russia.
Yeah.
We drew over there in Moscow, and then managed to lose the replay with a goal being scored by that lad who then failed a drugs test. But I remember coming out of the Millennium Stadium, and it was midweek, the second leg as well, and I had to drive back to Brighton then, like a 4-hour drive at 10:30 at night, get home about 2:30, back up for work at 6. And I just remember walking out and thinking,
Oh.
almost having a word with myself that you probably need to stop this now, because this is
Oh, that's horrible.
it's never happening. And I almost made peace with the fact that it was never happening, that we were we were simply never going to qualify for a tournament. I just at that stage,
Yeah.
off the back of all the Gould stuff, and then having a great chance against what was a pretty average Russian team to qualify for Euro 2004, to then blow that chance as well.
Yeah.
I really did think at that point that was about as low as it got. I just thought, this isn't happening for us. It's just not. And then obviously I was lucky enough to be there Euro 2016, and yeah, that's another
Faith restored.
Oh. Oh, excellent. Anything else you want to talk about, Woody? Or
yeah, well, so back on kind of the Wales kind of side of things. So obviously we knew Bobby Gould was kind of running the show back then. If you think about it as a sliding door moment, though, how different it could have been when you mention the players that were in that, because I mean, you had the likes of Gary Speed was winning the league at Leeds, early 90s. Mark Hughes was banging them in with gigs for Man United. You had Neville Southall was obviously a veteran and an experienced goalkeeper with Everton. It must have taken is it one person that could have changed that? A different manager? You could have been at Euro Euro 96 and USA 94. I find that so odd.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, a couple of factors that do come into it. It was a lot harder to qualify back then. You know, groups were smaller, fewer teams qualified, and because of our track record, we were always basically in, whether it was pot D or pot E, whatever it was. So the draws
Yeah.
tended to be horrendous. You know, we'd be the sort of almost the San Marino. So you'd have like some of the groups we had were unbelievable. You just looked at it, you were like, well, there's almost no point in us even playing.
Yeah,
Like
you're
you.
right. Absolutely.
And, you know, you'd lose your first 2 games of the group and it'd be like, well, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but no, you're right. I honestly do think a better manager, but I think the FAW, they simply didn't want to pay people. I think that was the other thing. They were so stingy at the time that I don't think Gould was on a huge amount of money at the time. And I just think they were reluctant to really go after the sort of manager with a kind of status, you know,
Yeah.
being able to get the best out of, as you said, was a talented squad. There's no doubt.
Because the players probably saw it as a bit of a holiday and a bit of a, you know, a drinking session in that kind of culture back in those days. So they kind of didn't really look at the games.
Read Neville Southall's book.
Yeah. And I'm right then in that case, or yeah,
he goes into it. Yeah,
because you had Mark Crossley and other players like that there, though, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Mark Crossley was there. Sort of had Andy Melville, people like that were there. As I said, Mark Pembridge was involved in that sort of time. I mean, they were good players. There were some very, very good players, and there were some good performances. This is the other thing. You know, every now and then we pull out a really decent performance against somebody, and then, you know, follow that by sort of losing 2-0 to Finland or something like that.
Yeah,
because we often used to be. Sorry, go on, Andy.
No, I was just saying when obviously when you do the hold the back page segment for the pod, we used to see things in the newspaper like Bobby Robson linked with Wales or Terry Venables linked with, and you're like, come on, even back then, you know.
Yeah, we kind of knew that it wasn't happening. But yeah, like I said, I suppose it made us appreciate the good times all the more. It didn't feel like that at the time. It felt really, really depressing. But I just remember being in Bordeaux for the first game at 2016 against Slovakia, and honestly having one of those pinch me moments. And you could see other people, like virtually everyone that was in the ground that day, because I think basically FAW launched one of those ticket loyalty schemes when we were rubbish. So hardly anyone really, you know, only the real sort of hardcore actually bothered becoming like a member of the ticket club.
Yeah.
Is still in it now. But so really it ensured that in that game in Slovakia, it was, I mean, I know there were probably some people who would managed to get in, but basically everyone who'd followed Wales for, you know, during those grim years, just about everyone was there. So it meant huge to not just a few people, to basically 90% of the people there. You could see, and people were in tears.
Well, you can appreciate then, because that's part of the journey, because even the Bodin penalty miss against Romania and, you know, all of that, it all paves the way to 2016. And it's crazy, isn't it? Because it matters more, you know?
And that's it, because people use, oh, well, success is cyclical. And you'd be like, well, not really sure it is, for a start. And also, well, in that case, it's like a penny farthing. Like everyone else seems to be on the little wheel, and we're on the massive wheel. We're going back to 1958, and it's now 2000. It's 2000.
Yeah,
the last was in 1958. So, like, any chance of this coming back around?
It's funny actually, because my wife's Brazilian, so obviously she follows Brazil and everything in the World Cups and tournaments like that. I remember saying, yeah, the last tournament we qualified 1958, and she couldn't understand. She just couldn't. And I'm like, yeah, Wales don't qualify for anything.
She doesn't know how lucky she is being born into that Brazilian national team.
Yes.
Goodness me.
This is true. Yeah, quite the journey.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. I think that's it, isn't it, Woody?
Perfect. Gareth, this was everything I wanted and more. Thank you, mate.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
have to say, lads, I've enjoyed every minute. I hope I haven't banged on too much. You did say to come on and kind of,
Oh, mate, there's probably more we could talk about as well. Absolutely.
No, it was brilliant. Thank you ever so much, mate. Much appreciated.
I couldn't think of a better way to spend my Friday evening.
Hey, so we like to hear.
Loved it.
That's a sound bite for future episodes, Jonesy.
That's it. Absolutely. All right. All right. Cool. Just before I head off, Woody, do you know how, you like to know how many countries? We've 71 countries we have listeners.
71. It was 52 a few weeks ago.
71. Gibraltar, Slovenia, Barbados, Philippines, and Brunei.
So whoever's listening to us in Barbados, please send us an invite for a record.
Gibraltar, just tell us, yeah.
Either we're being listened to on many holidays or we are just now global. So 90s football speaks volumes, guys. That's done it.
Well,
I think you said you were keen before the show on a sort of roadshow to Barbados, Woody, wouldn't?
This is right. Yeah, this is right. Yeah, we've got the tour bus ready. So
just looking, yeah. So there's Iraq, your Cayman Islands, Lebanon, China.
Wow. Thank you very much, guys.
There you go. Excellent.
Love that.
Right. Going forever.
I'd love to know what the lads in China are going to make of my reminiscences about the Goldstone in 1996. Anyway.
Or the meat kit from Brighton. I think that'll probably be the talking point.
Excellent. But yeah, we do appreciate all the listeners and everything like that, don't we, mate? And this has been a great show.
Yeah.
Excellent. Before we head off, where can we find you, Woody?
So you can find me on Instagram, guys, at WoodyW1988.
TikTok, yeah.
No, you keep going on about TikTok. It's never going to happen. Where can they find you, Jonesy?
Oh, TikTok, Snapchat. What's all the other ones?
Bebo, MSN, Snapchat, MySpace, Friends Reunited.
Yeah, just football.jonesy. We're all friends, aren't we?
Jonesy.
Yeah, excellent.
Indeed.
Hey, Gareth, where can we find you? The Glory. Yeah.
Yeah, just any of the Perth Glory social media channels. Just get on there and post some hate like everyone else does.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. We love the Glory. All right. Thank you so much. Do you want to see us out?
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. Look after yourselves, and we'll speak to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.